Hey everyone, Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is yet another late night review. Um, so quiet. So this is Elementary, Season 4, Episode 2. And like I said in my first review, I like where this is going. And it looks like they are going to be back with the NYPD next episode, which I knew was going to happen because you've got Captain Gregson and Detective Bell, and they are good characters, so I couldn't see them never coming back, and Holmes and Watson going to work for a different police department or a different agency or something like that. So I knew that was going to happen, but I like the fact that it didn't start off with them going back. They have an episode now. They've worked with the FBI. Interesting. And also, because it's not partially because the FBI, this detective whatever or agent whatever, Burns. I think it's Burns. Obviously, they don't know him, so and because it's the FBI, they're kept on kind of a tight leash, and it's always kind of fun to watch. Anytime any Holmes is, whoever's playing Holmes, anytime they're having to kind of work in the lines, because Holmes works outside of the lines. He goes where he shouldn't. He does stuff he probably shouldn't. But because it's the FBI, he really is kept within the lines for a majority of this. And it's kind of fun to watch him kind of squirm, and all the looks that he has whenever the agent looks at him and tells him something, and he kind of gives Watson a look like, really, this is what we're having to deal with now. So anyway, let me talk about the case itself, because honestly, the one thing that always works in Elementary is the cases, because almost all of them are not straightforward. I like to think back. It kind of reminds me of Monk a little bit. If you guys watch that show, all the cases were not straightforward. And if you look at shows like NCIS, like Bones, like trying to think of other crime shows I watch now. That's pretty much it. If you look at those two shows, the cases normally are fairly straightforward. You got a killer, you've got a victim. Sometimes there are twists thrown in where somebody's being framed, or sometimes it's one killer killed one victim, the other one killed the other one, but somehow they ended up in the same spot for some reason. Sometimes it's a cold case. But when Monk was on, and now Elementary, the cases are never that straightforward. It's never just, here's a victim, and then here's the case, and this is how they were killed. Oftentimes, how they were killed is not exactly what it seems, and the way that they're killed is very, it's almost always, because sometimes they do have cases that are straightforward, but the circumstances surrounding it are what makes it a hard case. But this one, 3 people are killed, and it looks like a professional killer, and it turns out that it's not. It's a lady that used a device that was able to kind of suck the oxygen out of the room, which caused them to, they're not able to move as well. They're kind of struggling to breathe, and she's able to kill all of them easily. But it makes it look like it's professional because it looked like they had killed 3 people with ease. But it feels like it's back to what Sherlock is supposed to be, because from some of the second season when his brother was in town, and there are a couple cases during the 3rd season, it didn't feel like Holmes, because he was getting bested by his brother when he was in town. During the 3rd season, there were a couple cases where it felt like Holmes should just walk into the room and just instantly know what's going on. but he wasn't doing it as much. But it feels like it's kind of come back. And the third season wasn't bad. Neither was the second season. It just kind of felt a little bit off character. But this one, he's noticing things that nobody else is really noticing. He solves the case based on something that was, it kind of seemed like just a throwaway, just like, why is that worth mentioning? But if it's Sherlock Holmes, he never mentions something useless. And in this case, it's the lab rat. The lab rat was dead, and he mentions it, and it seems like just something that he noticed. It's nothing really worth talking about, but it turns out to be the key to the case because the lab rat died because of the oxygen. The lack of oxygen, rather. And it's just very, very clever way to solve it. Because the clues leading up to that they were all circumstantial. None of it really confirmed anything. But then the rat kind of confirmed that's how the people were killed. And then there's a mark caused by the lady, the killer's crutch that she used. There was a mark, like a tiny mark in the closet where this device was kept. And it's something that probably only Sherlock would notice, but when all the facts come together in his mind, it all makes sense. Elementary, my dear Watson. So, it felt like a good old-fashioned Sherlock Holmes case again. And so did the first one in the first episode, so it's nice to see that the show really cares about the cases that it's presenting. Unlike another certain show that comes on the same night. Bones. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. It just kind of happened. Of course I meant to say that. Sorry, this is elementary, not Bones. So, anyway, like I said, case was really good, but the circumstances surrounding it, that's what is really worth talking about, just because of what I said in the first review, how I wanted to see something different. I didn't want to see the cliche where they're instantly back working with the NYPD. First of all, let me talk about Holmes's father. I don't know. Yes, I'm looking stuff up because I don't prepare. I really should, but when I don't prepare, this feels like a bit more, I don't know, natural, I guess. Like I'm just talking to you. Me and you having a conversation, but I can't hear you. Right. This is going to be frustrating to try to find. I'm looking for... There he is. John Noble. That's his name. I want to make sure that I got the actor's name right. He portrays Holmes' dad so well. Because everything that you know about his dad from Sherlock, he sounds like this just despicable guy. And whenever you see him, like, based on his look, based on his stature, he does seem like he's kind of, he's got control over stuff. But when he talks, the sound of his voice, the expression on his face when he's talking to Watson, it just, he can be charming, but you can see where he can also be intimidating and conniving and sneaky. So it totally makes sense that he's in a position of power, because that's what people that have got their way there unfairly, that's what they're like. They can be charming to get up there, but whenever they are up there, to stay up there, some of them are sneaky. They've got to have a threatening disposition so they can keep their status. So he's just a really good character, and I hope to see more of him. I hope they don't just throw him away. Because it's going to be very interesting to see if he sticks around and kind of see how Sherlock has to deal with his dad. But basically, the reason he's there is he says he can help Sherlock and Watson get back instated into the NYPD because he can pull some strings. And of course, Watson wonders what that means. Sherlock thinks it's going to come at a price of some sort. And at the end of it, Sherlock finally decides that he wants to go work with him again. And, Watson, they do have a nice moment where he says, look, we're a team and we're going to make this decision together. But she ultimately says, it's up to you. He's your dad. You know him better than I do. So if you think this is best, I'll go with you. And so he decides that he does want to work with the NYPD again. So, that's where they'll be. They're going back. But at what cost? And that's the question that Holmes poses early on. Is, at what cost? Because there's always a cost with his dad. And Watson kind of figures out some stuff that, some scams that some fraud stuff. And like I said, he was charming the first time Watson talked with him, but whenever she gets all this information, he gets very intimidating. Like, he stands up just straight. You can see exactly how tall he is, and just says, "Why go kicking under stones? Or why go kicking over stones if you don't want to know what's under them?" And just in that line alone, you can totally see this conniving person that Sherlock's been talking about. Which is nice, because sometimes in shows like this where you've got a father and son or a daughter and father, if the father is talked about in a harsh manner, sometimes they don't make it clear. They don't make it clear whether or not, the child of the parent, if they're just over exaggerating. And with Sherlock, we saw with Mycroft, he was over exaggerating on some things, but there were some things that he was being clear about. So with him, you're never really sure whether he's exaggerating, whether he is just taking things too emotionally. But in this case, you really get to see this person that Sherlock talks about. So, it was really well worked. And like I said, the guy playing Sherlock's dad, really great. I already forgot his name, so I feel bad. But anyway, but like I said, the case was really interesting. This guy gets framed. They're working with the FBI, leaking there's a leak that leads into the media, releases the story, starts a manhunt for this guy. And it was interesting to see them having to work with the FBI. And I wonder if, even if they do work with the NYPD, I wonder if they're going to bring back these FBI agents more. Because it was a different dynamic. And I liked it. Obviously it's not the same chemistry that they have with Bell and Gregson, but that can be a good thing. It can be not a good thing for them, but it can be a good thing for the audience to have to see Sherlock and Watson working with somebody else that they don't have chemistry with, and they have to work through that. Because I talk about chemistry sometimes and how well people work together, but sometimes it can be even better to see two people that don't have chemistry have to try to work together. I'm not talking about acting chemistry, I'm just talking about character chemistry. Acting chemistry, that's something that you only really see in like family relationships, husband and wife, stuff like that. There you can see like how well the actors play off each other and stuff like that. But as far as like working relationships, consultants with the police, characters working together, not actors. Sometimes the best ones are whenever the characters don't have chemistry at all, but they have to work together, and they try to work through that lack of chemistry, and sometimes can develop chemistry. So, like I said, it would be interesting to see them kind of have to work with the FBI a couple times. You know, they have a case, and they feel like, you know, it's something that they need Sherlock's help with, so they go to him for help, while still, you know, because like I said, Bell and Gregson are just, they're two good characters that you can't just get rid of them. You can't just say, well, to heck with them. You know, that's it for Bell and Gregson. They're done. So, like I said, we will be seeing more of them based on next week's previews. They will be with the NYPD next week. So, you know, kind of getting back to the norm, but everything's different. Sherlock's dad's in town. So, I don't know. I'm really excited for this season. They've set up so much for good story. You know, like, there are some shows. I'm going to talk about it one more time. Bones. There's no setup. There's nothing that, you know, the story that happened at the beginning of the season is over, and there's nothing setting up for later in the season. So it's just kind of boring right now because there's nothing to look forward to. And almost every other show that I've watched right now, there's something to look forward to. You know, next week, there's, if it's not a running storyline show, you know, like The Walking Dead or Fargo, those two shows, obviously, you're tuning in to see what's going to happen next week because it's a running storyline. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. But for shows like NCIS or Criminal Minds, you kind of have to give something to look forward to. And Criminal Minds is this assassin that, you know, it's this League of Assassins kind of type thing that they started off the season with, and that's kind of become the thing for this season. That's who they're going after. And they've kind of thrown little tidbits about it here and there. NCIS, you've got everything that happened with Gibbs at the beginning of the season and how that's affecting, and then stuff going on in personal lives that look like they can affect later. So, you know, there's something to look forward to. Bones, like I said, they finished their storyline at the beginning. Now there's nothing to look forward to. Elementary, even though it's a different case every week, they've got so much going on the outside that there's something to look forward to. They're building up a lot of stuff, and I'm excited. So, anyway, that's it for this review. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next review. Peace out.